Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Exodus, the 16th chapter. And so as Israel continues to journey through the wilderness, after the Lord has delivered them from the hand of the Egyptians, they now start to become more acquainted with the Lord as he also begins to prove them, right? So this is still in the early stages of the nation, all right, in the forming of the ordinances and for Israel, that is, and so on and so forth. So this is Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came onto the wilderness of Sin. And we had this map here that we've been using so far. But also when you look at, I pulled up another map here, and you'll often see the question marks because it's approximations, right, of where these places would have been. But they placed the wilderness of Sin somewhere here, so right around the bottom part of this land of Sinai here. So eventually, they make their way down past Elim in this region, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. So remember, they departed in the first month. So this would be about roughly a month since they left, right? Because on the Passover, right, the night the Egyptians were slain, I believe that day, they were basically driven out of Egypt. Verse 2, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And murmuring, it's like complaining, constantly, just playing that blame game, right? And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord Yahweh in the land of Egypt. And would to God is like saying, if only, right? If only we had just, God has just left us in the land of Egypt and had us die there instead. Because at least, right, when we sat by the flesh pots and when we did eat bread to the full. So they were complaining because they were reminiscing about Egypt and the fact that though they were captives, they were able to cook their food. They had flesh to eat, right? Meat. They had, bread, food, all of that. And they could eat till they were full, even though they had to go back to work the next day. So they're saying it had been better if the Lord left them there to die there, because at least they would have had food to eat. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And this is the complainings and the grumblings that they were murmuring with in the wilderness. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. Now, when you go into the Hebrew, bread in the Hebrew is a lacham, right? Which is not always literally bread, all right, but it can also mean food. And as we'll see, that's what the Lord ends up raining down for them. It says, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. So there's a certain measure, which would be likened unto their daily bread that they would gather daily, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. So how is the Lord going to prove them? He was going to test their ability to follow instruction. That's why he mentioned they would gather a certain rate every day. And it shall come to pass that on the sixth day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily, because the sixth day would be the day of the preparation before the Sabbath. So on the sixth day, whatever rate they were gathering daily, they would double that, and they would prepare it so that they could have it the next day. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even, then ye shall know that the Lord Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord Yahweh, for that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that ye murmur against us? So just you wait. This evening, you're going to see and know for sure that this is the God that delivered you. And you'll see his glory in the morning and realize that he's been hearing your complaints this whole time. And basically, you're speaking out against us as though we didn't come up, we didn't sit one day and draw plans for this in Egypt and say, okay, we're going to take this upon ourselves to do. This is the Lord, right? This is the Lord's doing. So who are we? You know, we Israelites just like you, and we're also following the instructions of the Lord. And Moses said, This shall be when the Lord Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord Yahweh. So you're going to see, because the Lord has heard you and he will feed you. He'll give you flesh to eat in the evenings. He'll give you bread in the morning. But you're going to know that your complaints are not against us. All right. It's really against the Lord. He's the one who ordered us to lead you right out of Egypt. So when you complain, you're complaining against him. And Moses spake unto Aaron, Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel. Because remember, Aaron was like the mouthpiece for Moses, right? He was the speaker. So they were more familiar with him speaking. And more than likely, he was also one of the elders, right? Here amongst the congregation. So they would hear him, right, as he was speaking instead of Moses. And obviously there are certain times when Moses himself would speak, but most of the time with announcements and so on, Aaron would be the speaker. It says, Come near before the Lord Yahweh, for he hath heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and beheld the glory of the Lord Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And we know that, the Lord, the cloud is usually in reference to a chariot, right? Which is like a so-called UFO. And so it's usually referred to as a cloud because oftentimes being in the skies, they cloak themselves in the clouds. But they basically saw this glory, now it doesn't specify, but you can imagine what it would look like if you saw that, right? Because sometimes we see chariots from afar off, but seeing one probably a little closer for them, it was because these chariots also have different shapes and sizes, different lights. It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh your God. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host. So in the evenings you have, quail, which is a type of bird, and they would be able to catch them and then prepare them and eat them. And in the mornings, as it says here, the dew lay round about the host. And the dew, which usually is accompanied with mist, right? That white mist. And that's usually what you would see in the morning. And as it says, it basically surrounded them completely. And when the dew that lay was gone up, so once it started to clear up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoar frost on the ground. So after the mist cleared up, they see these tiny round, things, and it compares the size to like a flake or a frost, right, on the ground. Which when you look this up, when you read this in the other translations, they have it here as like a frost on the ground. So like about the size of like a snowflake, you might say. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna or mana. And that word means, what is it? So when it says here, it is mana, it's basically them using a term to describe something they know not, right? So that's the word for it, right? Mana, which is means what is it? That's what they called it because they didn't know what it was. Um, where we at? For they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord Yahweh hath given you to eat. So he said, you complained about food, right? Well, you had the quails in the evening, the night, but this is the bread that the Lord is giving you. This is the thing which the Lord Yahweh hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, and an omer for every man, and that omer is a weight, is a not a weight, a measure. Okay, according to the the number of your persons, take ye every man for them which are in his tents. So basically, measure it accordingly, an omer per person, depending on how many people you are in your household, and make sure that there's enough for everybody. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. So you had some that gathered more, some that gathered less, right? But it would be according to the size of their household. And when they did meet it with an homer, meaning to measure it, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. So everybody had sufficient for them, right? Those that ended up gathering more had no they didn't have anything remaining. And likewise, those that had gathered fewer they weren't like say like starving, right? To say that they didn't have enough. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. So this is daily. It's a daily amount. Finish it. Okay, you take enough for yourself and you finish it. Don't try to, oh, I'm trying to save some for tomorrow. No. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses. Remember, the Lord said he was doing this to prove them? Well, you can already see their disobedience. He tells them, Don't leave it till the morning. You had some that didn't listen. But some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. So he got angry. I mean, you would too, right? Because how difficult is that? You're complaining about food. The Lord gives you food. He says, Moses tells you, just finish it. Don't leave anything left till the morning. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna leave a little bit, in case I'm hungry tomorrow morning. What if we don't get some tomorrow morning? Like, bro. And now look, you got the whole congregation smelling crazy. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. So it was spread on the ground, right, in the wilderness where they were, and they gathered their portions. And so every morning they would gather it, and that's what they would use for themselves. But the rest that remained on the outside, basically what was left over, it melted when the sun came out, right, when it started to get hot. And it came to pass that on the sixth day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And so that would be for the sixth and the seventh. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. So they came to ask him, well, like, why do we have to gather double on the sixth day? Like, explain that to us. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe. Seething is like to boil. And that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning. So this is the one time you can actually save some for the next morning. And they laid it up till morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm in therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord Yahweh. Today ye shall not find it in the field. So that's why you had to gather double on the day of preparation, the sixth day, because on the seventh there would be none in the field, so you can eat this. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people, yo, Jake, bro, on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. So he tells them, don't leave any until the morning. Some go and leave it till the morning, and they find out. He tells them, gather double on the sixth day. They gather double on the sixth day. You're not going to find any on the seventh day. They go out looking anyway. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? And by the ye, he's referring to the people. Because as he's already seen, he told them that basically the same thing I just mentioned to you. The Lord was observing all of this. See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his tent, or in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So basically, just chill out. Stay in your tent, stay in your crib, and don't go looking on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And when you I looked up coriander seed, it's basically these like very tiny, circular looking things. So it sounds like that's what it looked like in appearance. Now, when you actually go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, it also mentions a bit about this time period that we're reading about concerning the manna or the angel's food. Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 15. Let's see. It says here. Wait, is this actually the right one? No. This is not definitely not the right one. Let's see. Taste. Okay, I think it might be in here. 16. There we go. 16 and 20. And this is dealing with the time of the wilderness. Now I'm just gonna go straight to the point. But you can read the whole chapter if you would like. So it says here, this is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 16, verse 19. It says, and at another time it burneth even in the midst of water above the power of fire, that it might destroy the fruits of an unjust land. Instead whereof thou feddest thine own people with angels' food. Doesn't mean food that the angels ate, because the angels don't eat. But it was, you could say it was prepared, right, or delivered by the angels, to the earth, obviously in the form here of that mist. But that's why it's referred to as such. It says here, and didst send them from heaven bread prepared without their labor, because they didn't have to work for that. The Lord just fed them. Able to, and here's the key part, able to content every man's delight and agreeing to every taste. You hear that? So, well, let's read verse 21. Thy sustenance declared thy sweetness unto thy children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking. So the manna that they were eating wouldn't taste too sweet for one, and then like if it's just one taste, right, for everybody, somebody might, oh, that's too sweet for me, oh, it's not sweet enough, or it's too this. No, it was in such a way that if you pour 2 spoonfuls of sugar in your coffee and I only do one, imagine this was coffee, it would taste like I only put 1 spoonful of sugar in mine, and it would taste like you put 2 in yours. So it agreed, right, to every man's taste. And as it says, serving the appetite of the eater, it tempered itself to every man's liking. So it tasted just right for everybody. That's crazy work, but hey, that's the power of the Lord. Verse 32, and Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord Yahweh commandeth, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. So as a to to have for future generations' sake, the Lord commanded them to fill in 1 omer, and this would be preserved. Okay, it says here, and Moses said unto Aaron, take a pot and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord Yahweh. So basically store it somewhere safe, because this is going to be preserved, right, before the Lord, to be kept for your generations, that they may see, like the proof, that this is how the Lord kept us alive in the wilderness. As the Lord Yahweh commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. Now, at this point, the testimony, right, hadn't been given yet, right, in the sense of the tablets and so on and so forth. But we know that in the ark itself, the instructions weren't even given for them to build it yet, the Ark of the Covenant. So when it says this, right, remember that this is being recounted. When you go to the book of 2nd Esdras 14, at the time when the Babylonians came and destroyed Jerusalem, they burnt the temple, right? And Ezra describes that thy law is burnt. So that included the scrolls and so on and so forth. And the Lord put the Spirit on Ezra to recount all that had been from the beginning, and it was all rewritten. So there is a narrator or an author of all these things that we are reading of. And that's why there's some precepts, like when we read in the book of Genesis, it speaks like one that is already in the future, right? And they'll talk about basically this was the land of where this and this happened, where the Amalekites dwell. But the Amalekites would have come more in the future to that time period that we were reading about. So how would the narrator have known who the Amalekites were? Okay, so long story short, this account we're reading is post the actual event happening, after it had happened, after the fact. That's why they had knowledge of these things. So in verse 34, what it's really saying is, to put it in other words, right? He eventually placed it in the Ark of the Covenant in front of the stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant, right? So that's eventually where this manna ended up, the pot full of manna. And I think it tells you that in that ark you had the testimony, the stone tablets, you had the pot full of manna, and Aaron's rod that budded. Verse 35, and the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years. And that's why it was necessary for it to be agreeable to everybody's taste, because you're going to eat this consistently for 40 years. Until they came to a land inhabited, they did eat manna until they came onto the borders of the land of Canaan. And then when we went through the book of Joshua, it covered that. How when they finally, got into the land and they were able to eat, I think it was like the corn, that the manna stopped coming down. Verse 36, now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. Once again, measurements. It's kind of like saying, boy, I don't know, a half cup, right, is a measurement, is like half of 1 cup. That's a bad example, but you get the point, right? Sometimes, you look at the different, tools of measurements, especially if you're in the kitchen, and you can see, okay, 2 of this will give me a full cup of this, right? Cool. So that brings us to the end of the book of Exodus, the 16th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.